This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Today I thought it would be fun to share with you a recent recipe I did. It's a play on a couple of different things I've done in the past. I wanted to try something that was summery and also something reminiscent of home, as half of the ingredients, or one of the sections of ingredients, came from Virginia. And so I settled on cherry hand pies. Hand pies make great shareables, they're super easy to gift, and they're just really cute and fun to make. I've made hand pies a handful of times in the past. One of my favorite recipes I've done was a dandelion hand pie that was mostly a lemon custard on the inside with a hint of dandelion. That was a really fun, springy recipe, and I figured it was about time to try something that was a little bit more summery. I've done this a few times in the past, but I've never fully shared a recipe or really settled on a style of it. And so I feel really good about this one, and I hope you all enjoy. But before we get into this, let's talk a little bit more about our sponsor. Thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring. I've been working through Squarespace to build my website, and I am so excited to be sharing that with you all here soon. But in the meantime, I just want to talk about some of my favorite features, starting with their flexible website template. You can get started with one of their professional website templates with designs for every category and use case. Then you can customize your look, update the content, and add features that fit your unique needs. Truly, you can make any Squarespace template do whatever you want, so your idea, your brand, or business stands out online on every single device. You're also able to sell your products with an online store. Whether you sell physical, digital, or service products, Squarespace has the tools you'll need to start selling online. And finally, I absolutely love that they give you access to your analytics. You can use these insights to grow your business, learn where your site visits and sales are coming from, and analyze which channels are most effective. Improve your website and building market strategy based on your top keywords or most popular products and content. This is something I use a lot through all of my other methods of business and working, and it is great to be able to have access to this here too. So if this sounds interesting to you, go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/thegreenwitch and you'll save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring, and let's get back into the video. Alrighty, welcome back. In the footage I filmed, I ended up making a double recipe for the crust and for the filling, but I ended up only using about one part of them to create the hand pies because I realized I did not need that many hand pies and saved the rest for another project and something a little later down the line. So today I will be teaching and sharing the half recipe. At the end, I did only come up with half of the hand pies of the original recipe I intended to make, so you will come out with about the same amount of hand pies as I did, but you won't have too much excess material on the other end. Well, you may still have a little bit of extra cherry filling, but it's basically a jam, so you could use it anywhere. I think it would be great on top of ice cream, or perhaps added to any number of different kind of baked creations. But with that out of the way, let's jump into the ingredients that you'll need, starting with the filling. For this, you'll need 1 cup of pie or sour cherries, 1/4 to half a cup of sugar, depending on how sweet you want it to be, 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, the juice of half a lemon, and 1 tablespoon of butter. For the crust, you'll need 2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of sugar, 10 tablespoons of butter, 2 egg yolks, and 1/4 cup of ice water. This recipe is done in a couple of different parts. I personally started with the filling, then the next day made the pie crust, and finished out making the hand pies. But this is something that you can easily do all in one day if you'd prefer to. I just didn't have quite as much time as I'd hoped and ended up splitting it up into 2. So once you've gathered your ingredients, it's time to begin with the filling. Unlike most pie setups, the filling needs to be cooked before the crust does. Hand pies cook really, really quickly, and so you won't be able to get the filling to the desired consistency if you just mix it all together and put it in there. So we start by making essentially cherry jam. To do this, combine all of your ingredients, save for the butter, into a good sized pot. That's the cherries, the sugar, the cornstarch, and the lemon juice. Make sure to mix it all together and then plop it on the stove. There, cook it down until it becomes a jam-like consistency. For me, I usually use a spoon method. I'll try to draw the spoon across the bottom of the pan. If the liquid is slow to cover the bottom of the pan again, then the jam is ready. If it seals right back up, then you still need to cook it down for a while longer. I usually do this on a medium heat, and it can take a good long while, but it smells wonderful and looks beautiful. Once you reach a proper jam consistency, go ahead and throw in that 1 tablespoon of butter, stir it up, and then transfer it to a bowl or another just storage device for the time being, something easy to pop in the fridge. We want to make sure that our jam is super duper cooled down before we add it into our pie crust, and it's just a little bit easier if we have an easy to fit container. Once you have your jam put away, it's time to start on the crust. To make your crust, begin by combining your flour, salt, and sugar. Take a moment to mix it all together and then pull out your butter. I recommend cubing your butter before adding it in because it makes it so much easier to mix it all together. So once it's all cubed, toss it into this flour, salt, and sugar mixture and begin pinching it together with the tips of your fingers. You're also welcome to toss this in a food processor if that's easier for you, but I personally like to do things by hand, and I do not have that many fancy kitchen gadgets. So do whatever method works best for you. Once you've incorporated all of the butter and it's come to be this kind of crumbly mixture, in a separate bowl, combine your water and egg yolks. Mix them together here as best you can, and then slowly begin to add it into your dough. The amount you add will vary depending on where you live. The humidity levels in your home, the weather, all of those fun things. So keep an eye on it, add it very slowly, and stop once it's come together in a nice ball. You should have a little bit of extra, and this will be used as an egg wash on top of the pastries at the end before popping them in the oven. So once you've added your egg and water mixture and it's come together in this nice ball, sprinkle some flour out on your work surface and begin to roll out the dough. I like to press it down at first and then get it as flat as you can with a rolling pin, or a wine bottle if you don't have a rolling pin. Then cut out as many circles as you can from the sheet. I used a biscuit cutter to do this, but you could also use a jar or a water glass if that's what you have on hand. Anything will do, and you can even try with some fun shapes if you have cookie cutters or anything that will cut out the dough. Just make sure you always have something that matches up, so you have 2 of each thing that you cut out. And make sure once you cut out as many as you can from that first rollout that you'll bring it back together and do it all again. You should be able to do this a handful of times and get as many as you can until all you have left are scraps. Now, if you're doing this all in one day, your cherry filling probably needs a bit more time to cool. If this is the case, I'd recommend wrapping up all of your little cutouts of dough in some plastic wrap or a cloth and putting that in the fridge for a bit while you wait for the filling to cool. Pie dough loves to be cold, and if you leave it out, it won't flake up very well or become as tasty as it could. But once your filling has cooled enough, take out your circles or whatever shapes you've decided on and pair them up. Usually I like to roll out whatever will become the top pastry a little bit to fit over the filling easier. I just do this with my rolling pin, but you may be able to stretch it with your fingers or even just smush it with the palm of your hand. Then take a nice little scoop of your filling, place it in the center of the bottom pie dough. Take a bit of that egg wash we saved from the pie dough earlier, dip your finger in it, place it around the edge of the bottom crust, and then place the top piece that is a little bit bigger on top, smushing it down as you go. I find that it's also helpful to go around the edges with a fork to make sure they're all sealed really tightly. Do this with each of your hand pies and then place them on a baking sheet. I usually like to add parchment paper, but it's not a super necessary step. Next, pull out that egg wash one more time and put it on top of each of the hand pies. At this point, you can also choose to sprinkle them with some coarse sugar, but we will be adding powdered sugar at the very end, so up to you. Not a necessary step, but if you prefer coarse sugar over powdered sugar, this is where you could do that. Then pop them in the oven at 400 for about 10 to 15 minutes. It may be different depending on how thin your crust is rolled out or your oven, but just keep an eye on them and pull them out when they're nice and golden brown. Allow them to cool. Top them with your powdered sugar, if you so please, and enjoy. While this recipe does take a bit of time to complete, it's fairly simple and pretty accessible, and it's something that a lot of people find really impressive, so it's a great thing to bring as a gift. Or just something fun to make for yourself. To me, they taste of summer and childhood memories, and I hope they're able to evoke some of that same joy for you. These can also be made with a handful of different fillings if you'd prefer to work with blackberries or raspberries or anything that is in current abundance around you that would fit really nicely in a pie. So thank you so much for watching, but before we close out, I do want to say I wrote a book and it will be going out on shelves in October. You can pre-order it now though, and I have the links in my description down below. It's been a wonderful project to work on, and I can't believe that it will be out on the market so soon. I also have a Patreon page. There I share art, herbal profiles, book recommendations, and monthly workshops, among other things. And I also have another channel. Wow, this is getting long. Oh my goodness, camera died. Okay. There I share more of what I share here, just a little bit vloggier, more in depth, and it's where I get to be a little bit more creative. So if either of those sound interesting to you, they will also be linked in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a lovely day, and I can't wait to see you again soon.